Hello everyone, Noctim0 here, and today I bring you my honest review of Resident Evil 2 2019. First off, let me say that this is definitely a return to form from Capcom. Definitely a return to form for sure. Resident Evil 7, yes, a really good game, really good horror game. I felt like it just, because it didn't really have any of the original characters besides Chris, this game just detracted way too far and felt it was more self-contained. Resident Evil 2, however, not only does it bring us back to Raccoon City once again, but this time it's done from the ground up. It's made to look beautiful, and I feel like it complements the original Resident Evil remake in some ways. In this one, however, I had so much fun loving the details in the game, loving how they up the graphics. The voice acting is definitely an improvement as well, at least in some areas. But yeah, the animations, everything about this game is just so on point, and the fact that they've added so many bonus features to it. And honestly, I think my favorite thing is the fact that they brought back the alternate scenarios after you've beaten the A scenario. So that was a nice touch as well. I was under the impression they weren't going to do that, and that you would be playing two separate scenarios with both Claire and Leon. But that turned out it wasn't the case. There was no swapping characters or something like that for something similar to Resident Evil 6. The gameplay is actually highly similar to Resident Evil 6, just on the basic level. There's no quick time, no running up to a zombie and stabbing them or kicking them or something to knock them down. You're more or less defenseless for the most part. Enemies are definitely much more powerful than what they were in previous entries. I went in guns blazing in the original Resident Evil 2, mostly thinking, okay, I can take on almost every enemy at any time. Now in this one, I made that same call, but it was a mistake. You can't just pop an enemy's head and think that they're done. In Resident Evil 4 onward, you shot an enemy in the head, they staggered, and you can, throw a bit of a smackdown on them. This one, nope. Not only that is there no quick time events to kind of do something like that, thank goodness, but shooting them in the head just was no longer something that was effective. You could shoot them 5, 6 times in the head, and they're still coming. That to me was frightening. You needed more powerful weapons. I think I liked the fact that I had the handicap, because I got the collector's edition, of having alternate samurai edges, which I thought was a nice touch, that even the samurai edges, each one of them had their very own specifics to them. For instance, Jill's samurai edge was better at handling, so you fired it. The recoil wasn't as strong. If you used Chris's, it had more accuracy. And then if you used Albert Wesker's, it had more power, which is the one I used mostly in Claire's campaign, because no other handgun actually gave me that strong option. Leon's Matilda, which worked perfectly once you upgraded it fully. It actually made it on par with Albert's, which I've noticed. Another thing is that I was kind of hoping there would be more, intricacy and more detail in playing the alternate scenarios. Though, yes, there is a slight difference. It's harder, for sure. I've always noticed that in the original, the B scenario was only harder because item placements were different. In Resident Evil 2 Remake, the item placements were the same. The handgun ammo was in the same parts. But the thing is when you're playing in the B scenarios, Leon is given an alternate pistol and alternate handgun ammo. So any main handgun you had was useless. You couldn't use it unless you made the gunpowder, which I rarely did. I mostly just stacked up with shotgun shells with Leon in my B scenario. So I don't know why they did something like that. I mean, maybe it was just a throwback, because which was interesting, because the weapons you get in both B scenarios for Leon and Claire, the replacement handguns. For Claire, it was the single action army 6-shooter. It was nice. It was a much faster and slightly more powerful handgun. Leon also had a different firing stance where instead of using both hands, he just aimed with one, like we usually see if he wore an alternate costume. But other than that, there was really no difference too much. One thing of note that I will say is the fact that if you're doing a B scenario playing as Leon or Claire, you'll get these little Leon notes or Claire notes. I'm assuming that that's pretty much the remaining files I need to collect while playing the game, because I found numerous notes from Leon, or really from Claire playing Leon's campaign, which pretty much was just telling her side of the story in a little bit of a way. So it was nice, not too bad. But then there was playing in the A scenarios, just like for instance, in the old game where you could have access to all the keys and stuff in the game, they intentionally put it to where when you're playing as Leon or Claire, you can't access either. With Leon, you can't access the heart doors, where Claire cannot access the club doors, which is understandable. I mean, they kind of made it to where they were areas that only can be accessed by either character. I mean, they were character specific, because you can't access Brian Irons' office with Leon when you're playing as Leon, because it would make no sense. He had no reason to be there. In the old games, you could, but that was only after a certain amount of time passed and a certain amount of the game went on, and Claire could actually open the way, and Leon can just go there and just see. But no, it was nice that they changed some things around. Another thing that I would say that they added was the addition of making Mr. X a completely prominent pursuer in this game. I mean, Mr. X was, oh Jesus, he's given me nightmares lately, and that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes on a huge degree, because you hear those footsteps, those thundering footsteps heading towards you, and you don't know what to do if he's heading towards you completely or not. Now, I have noticed you can lose him. You can hide behind a pillar, and he can just lose track of you and just walk away. That's good. If you are running, he will notice your footsteps as well, and he'll zero in on wherever you're running at. So it's like the lickers, and I'll get to them in a sec, but much worse. And as for the lickers themselves, they're a lot easier to deal with because they can no longer just attack you and like they could in the old game. In this one, they have to sense you out. It was almost like fighting the xenomorph in Aliens or something. But in this one, they're completely blind. So you have a good chance of avoiding them as long as you are walking and staying silent and don't attack them, because they are really hard to kill, especially in Leon's campaign. Mostly because Claire just has the better weaponry to a point. Leon has the advantage of having a flamethrower, which are good against the plant zombie things, whereas Claire has only flame rounds, and she runs out of those much faster than Leon. So, yeah. Each one of them have their own advantages and disadvantages, where Claire is more diverse in weaponry. Leon has a lot of power weapons that really pack a punch and obliterate all sorts of enemies. Now, for the story is basically the same, but again, they've added even more details and stuff. Although, one thing that I thought was a little annoying is the fact that they hardly brought up the mansion incident. It was maybe brought up one time while playing as Claire, and while in Leon's, they don't bring it up. In the old game, Marvin at least knew what was going on to a point. He knew that there was an incident in the Arklay Mountains, but in this one, they don't know what happened. They have no idea where it all started. It just happened so quick that they were all caught by surprise by it. And Chief Brian Irons in this one, they made him a little bit crazier than he was, and I still think that there was just more to the story that they probably could have added more details to, but for what we got in the story, it was still great because we still know it was Umbrella. The things that they also did add with Annette Birkin as well, I thought was nice. They gave her more character. She wasn't. I mean, yeah, she was cold and heartless as she usually was, but in this one, she wasn't trying to protect William like she was in the original. In this one, she was doing everything she can to stop him because she felt she had a responsibility to stop him. But she also didn't want anyone else getting the Golgotha virus, or the G virus as it's called. And the boss fights are probably the best in this game, by far. One of the best in any Resident Evil game I've played. I mean, for one, fighting against William Birkin, I mean, it's pretty standard. You just have to take him out. Really, he's the only boss in the game besides Mr. X. I mean, Mr. X himself, he pursues you, but you don't really fight him until the very end of the game. And I was always surprised that they made Mr. X Leon's pursuer in the end instead of Claire's. I mean, yeah, he does follow Claire, but he's completely gone by a certain point. And while playing the different campaigns and stuff, you just find all these little details that really help with the game and really help the overall story. Now, one thing that they did add more detail to was more or less Hunk's side of things, but only when you find the tapes and recordings. They at least show that there was more going on behind the scenes. Another thing that I will say is that a lot of the levels were expanded upon. You can't really rely on your memory too much from the old game. Maybe in the police station for sure, but not in the definitely not in the sewers or the underground lab. They were just, to me, they were completely overhauled and redone, with the only thing kept the same for the most part was the police station. One thing that Jeremy Johns did surprise me with is when he said that the tyrant didn't burst through the walls, and I'm like, there are two sections where he does this, and the first section isn't so obvious. It's near the press room, which is really where the old candlelight puzzle was at in the original Resident Evil 2. But he only bursts through the wall if he's pursuing you, and if you have either the heart or the club key. Either one of those, as soon as you enter the interrogation rooms, he'll not pursue you there anymore. He'll walk away, only to burst through the wall later when you're trying to get away from that area. And the secondary area is actually in the hallway near where the film development room is at. The reason for this is because like if you look on the wall, there's actually, I don't know if this is a graphical error or they just did it on purpose, but there is a bit of an outline that shows that the wall is supposed to be bursted. I kept looking at that, I'm like, that looks like something can just blow up right there, or somebody can just plow right through. Yeah, those little details alone, though, have really helped with this game. Even the files, looking for them and reading them out, they changed them a bit to fit more with like Resident Evil Outbreak. There is a mention of Rita Phillips, which was the character from Resident Evil Outbreak, so it's nice that they are at least acknowledging that that game is in a way canon. They did change a lot of different details that did help with the game's story, and it just made more sense. Even the fact that Marvin was given much more screen time in this helped out a lot. It showed that Marvin did everything he could up until the very end. I mean, we already know what happens to Marvin Branagh, but it was nice to see that he was given more than your party's been canceled kind of thing. And really, this game was just something that I guess was a love letter to the fans. This game was something so well done. So we've been asking for this one to be remade for a long time, and I'm actually glad we waited up until this point, because it was given such good love and detail and everything towards it, and I can't express anymore how much I really did enjoy this game. I mean, and even playing the hunk scenario, unfortunately I didn't record that, but or did I? If it's there, it's there. But either way, this was definitely fun. This was definitely something that was worth revisiting after so many years. And the thing is, I've been playing this multiple times, and I gotta say, I'm really surprised at just the level of detail that they've shown this particular title, and I'm happy with it. I've never been more happy with a survival horror, and really one with such its pedigree. Now I just want to see them remake Dino Crisis. Could you imagine Dino Crisis done with the RE engine? They could easily do something amazing, and they haven't done a Dino Crisis game in years. So to get us reintroduced to Dino Crisis, hell, even Dino Crisis 2, they can probably scale it back to being more of a sequel or reboot it, kind of, but still doing everything like they did in the original Dino Crisis. Just I mean, Dino Crisis is a game that I really, really wanted to see redone, and I had so much fun playing as well. But this was amazing. They've done everything that I think was correct. They Capcom has proven that they can definitely go back to horror and not only do it well, but they can be the masters of survival horror once again. I think we're going to be seeing a new golden age of horror games, and like we haven't seen in a long time. So, with that said, I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. Honestly, I still haven't come up with a review structure, a review point structure that is to define this. I mean, I'd give this a 9.5 or 4.5, whichever on the scale. The game is really well done. There's only a few issues with it that I had, and they're not even that great because it's not heavy to mention. Really, it's just the fact that the branching paths weren't done better. But it's like how I feel like those branching paths were tacked on when fans really wanted those branching paths when they heard about that there was not going to be any, and Capcom most likely just slapped them on. When you start them, it does feel like it's a slapped on thing that they've done, but they still made it to where even though it's different, it works. Anyway, guys, I hope you all are enjoying Resident Evil 2. Definitely pick it up. It is well worth it, and it is a return to form. Definitely the best in the series once again. Take care.